Dear brother, I'm glad you're back, man. I love you. You matter to me. I'm glad you're here. Thank you so much to all the new subscribers, man. You guys are blowing my mind. When you do something from your heart, you just do it and you just want to share your heart and you just want to do well by people. And for you guys to be responding to the channel the way you are, I'm really thankful that we are building our community. Every day I'm getting different emails and social media messages from different men, even on the YouTube page of different men who are just, saying, hey, man, this helped me. I ran into this at the right time. That's what makes it all worth it. It's not about the millions of followers. I hope to have that one day just so I can share more wisdom with more men. But, just to have a one man, two men, three men come and say, hey, this is helping me with my children. This is helping me with my spouse. This is helping me in single life. Hell, this is just helping me with me. That's big for me, man. So thank you so much to all the new subscribers, everyone who's liking the videos, sharing them, man. I am really, really grateful. So thank you so much. So I want to talk about fatherhood today. This is very, very dear to me because I'm a dad. I'm a dad. I'm a dad of 5 children. One of them I lost at 4 months, my daughter Lydia. I talked about that somewhat in I think my very first podcast. I might have shared the pain and the burden of that. And in fact, it was about my podcast about manning up. Manning up it hurt me. It really damaged me. So I talked a little bit about Lydia in that video, man, and that circumstance in my life. So please go back and check that video out. But being a dad, I have a 19-year-old son. I have twin 17-year-old daughters. And yeah, I'm one of those guys who went through divorce and got married again and started all over again. So I have a 6-year-old girl. And so being a dad is weird. Being a dad is strange. Being a dad is fun. Being a dad is scary. Being a dad is can have you anxious. It can make you move in anxiety. And I don't know if I would call all these feelings bad. I think these feelings of anxiety and ups and downs and thinking all the time, I think that says, you know what, you really want to be involved in your child's life. Because if it didn't matter to you, you wouldn't think that much. Anytime men only have 2 currencies. We only have 2 currencies. We have our words and we have our time. And so when we constantly go through our mind giving time to am I being a good dad, that means you're a heck of a dad. So let me clap you up, bro. Let me clap you up for all you dads who are trying to figure it out, whether you're doing the right thing. Did you say the right thing? Did I hurt my kids' feelings? Did I ruin them for life? All these different fears come to us, and they're real. They're real. And you gotta deal with them. But again, I'm proud of you for having that much concern. I'm proud of you for being that worried. Somebody will say you shouldn't worry. Please, worry is real, and I think it's a good sign. So again, I can congratulate all you dads who worry because it means that you really freaking care, and I love you for that, and your children love you for that. So I'm proud of you, bro. Hang in there, keep pushing. But I want to talk about 5 different things that fathers must really, really do to really help them with this fathering thing and how to really embrace fatherhood. I want to talk about that today, but I really want to get into these 5 points about just being a good dad. Being a good dad, and fatherhood has nothing to do whether you went through divorce. I went through 2 of them. One thing my dad told me when I went to him and told him, Dad, I think I'm getting divorced. He said, okay, make sure you take care of those kids. Don't ever abandon your children. Fellas, I know that a lot of you deal with different situations with women, and you have the thing about the crazy baby's mother and all these different things. But I say to you, like my father said to me, don't let any circumstance take you away from your children, because the honest to God, your children won't really care at the end of the day whether you guys were together in their younger years. It matters to them. Hey, they wonder why mom and dad is not together. But as life goes on, the reality is was dad there? Was dad there? That's the question that they are going to look for, or the question they will be able to answer in their mind. Was my dad there? So that's very important. So be there. I took a break to tell you, be there. I don't give a damn how crazy mom is acting. I don't care what she did, what kind of child support she on, all the drama that maybe comes with split families, if any at all. Sometimes there's none. But if there is some, focus on your child. Focus on your child. And to be honest with you, brothers, there are some women that will try to break you. Right? They'll try to break you. They'll try to use your kids to absolutely break you. But you know what? You hit the same kids they'll use to try to break you. You got to use those same kids to hold yourself together, because it's their love that matters. It's their love that's going to count for you. So don't get caught up in the drama of broken relationship. You make sure you keep a whole relationship with your children, because that will all ultimately matter to them in their older years. They'll say, hey, no matter what went down with mom and dad was there. Okay. And simple things, man. Simple things. Drop lunch off, man. It's not all these big things. It's not the big $1 million Christmas and all these things that kids want. Kids aren't driven by that. We are, right? Kids are driven. Did you play this game? You know what kids really want from you, Dad? Kids want you in their world, right? So the other day I was chilling with my son and just watching him play college football on PlayStation 5, because I was in his world. And that's what kids really want. They want us to get in their world, and which takes us out of ours. And that's the thing you got to be willing to do. You got to be willing to get out of your world to get into theirs. You got to be willing to put down that daggone cell phone to get in their world. You know how many of us are losing our kids to our cell phones? You think they're on their cell phones? They only learn it from us. Man, put that phone down. Tuck it under the pillow somewhere. Give your kid 2 or 3 hours of play, man. Give your kid 2 or 3 hours of hanging out. Jump in their world, because these are the things that will show your kid they're valuable and also give you greater pride as a father. So let's get into these 5 things right quick. The first thing you got to do with this fatherhood battle, and all the emotions that come with being a dad and anxiety, the first thing you have to do, brother, is embrace your imperfections as a man. Embrace your imperfections as a man. You're not a perfect man. You've never been a perfect man. And guess what? When your children were born, there were no rule books or guidebooks that came out behind that baby to show you how to do this thing, right? Because fatherhood is a heart connection, right? No matter what I teach or people write books and things like that, there's always a heart connection that drives a father toward his child, right? So you have to, number one, embrace your imperfections. Right. One of my imperfections is I'm very straightforward. I'm very straightforward. And because that's in my character, my kid might ask me a question. I'm just very straightforward. And because they're kids, it's like, well, Dad, why they might determine it as mean. Dad was being mean. And I really wasn't. It's just that I'm straightforward with everybody, and I know that can come off that way. So one of the things you got to do is be sensitive. Be sensitive when you understand your imperfections. That means don't be first to fight someone over what they say about you. Because one thing I learned is that we can't perceive ourselves from ourselves. It's really people from outside of us that perceive us many times better than we do, because you can't see yourself from outside yourself. So always make sure that you listen to your children. Watch their facial expressions, One thing about kids is kids don't have words for everything, right? They don't have words for it. They can't explain everything. So you have to watch them. Watch how they operate. Watch their facial expression. Watch their head drop down, watch the eye get sad, watch when they get happy. Watch the jokes that they like, pay attention to these things. And don't let the things of this world, let me pause right here. I'm not pausing, I'm just sharing. But don't let the things of this world, the pressures of this world, the pressure of the money you need, and this person needs time and that person needs time. Don't let those pressures rob you from knowing your kids. Because I'm gonna tell you, for us, a lot of us fathers, you wind up, your kid gets older, 12, 13 years old, and you hustle so hard in the beginning to make sure they had this and had that. And the only thing they didn't have was you. And then you find out later on, damn, I don't really know my kid. I know them to love them, but the details of their life, don't miss the details of your kid's life because you're trying to take care of them. Because many times in trying to take care of them, you're actually losing them and the moments that really count for them. That matters, guys. So let's go back to this. Know your imperfections. Know where you're sometimes off. Know when you're sometimes short-tempered. Know how you are. And that way you don't have to wrestle with your imperfections, but you can recognize them and how they impact your kid. But also recognizing your own imperfections and embracing them. What it does is say, okay, this is something I could work on, but not something I need to be anxious about. So embrace your perfections so you don't have to be anxious, but it's something to work on. Number 2, seek support for your guidance. Seek support for your guidance. It's very important that you seek support for this. When you're looking for guidance, thank God today you listen to the podcast, right? But there's books, there's men, other men that are dads, there's older men that may be far past you. You may have a 5, 6-year-old, 17-year-old. Somebody else has a 30, 40-year-old, that been through these things. When my son hit his teenage years, man, I had to go seek help because I learned, there's a thing, and I want to say this. Dads with sons, listen to me, dads with sons that are going into those 16, 17, 18-year-old years. Understand this. There are times where your son will seem like he's challenging you. There may be times where he seems like he's almost being disrespectful towards you. And I'm not talking about openly disrespect. I'm talking about when he's walking around the house a certain way or not speaking to you a certain way. What I learned about sonship is that eventually sons want to become men. Boys want to become men. And when they're walking around kind of feeling themselves or whatever boys do at that time, don't see it immediately as disrespect. A lot of times they're just trying to make room for their own growth. They're trying to make room for their own manhood, right? You gave them what to think about. You growing up, you gave them points and you told them this. They came out knowing nothing. So you were master hero. You explain the ball game. You explain how this works. You explain how to change a tire and change the oil and how to fish and how to golf and what all the things we teach our sons. Eventually, when that son grows up, he wants to then try out the things he's learned, try out the wisdom he learned from you. I went through that with my son. My son is a big giant guy, so he got a little older and it's like he was flexing his muscles a little bit. I'm like, I got to check this kid. What I learned is it wasn't about me checking him. It was about me sitting back and appreciating what my son was becoming. Look at that perspective. That perspective is much better than I need to check him. You don't need to check him. You raised him to grow into manhood. You raised him to grow into his own thinking. So don't see his growth as disrespect for you. See his growth as honor for what you put in him. Because what you will find out and what I found out was a lot of times what my son wanted to say or what he wanted to argue or debate with me, he was actually repeating the points that I showed him growing up. He was giving me what I had given him. And it really brought joy. So don't see your son's growth as disrespect. See it as him trying to show you what you've shown him. You got that? Get that. I'm gonna share this other thing. When my dad was 59. Man, damn, I almost felt like crying just now. Okay, so my dad was 59. I might cry. So if I do, it's manhood, it's vulnerability. My dad was 59 when he passed away, young, right? He was healthy. Suddenly he got sick. 2 weeks he was gone, right before my birthday. But when I was in the hospital with my dad said to me, I said, Dad, you'll be all right, man. You know, he's in the emergency room. And I said, Dad, you'll be fine. Don't worry. You'll be all right. And my dad grabbed my right hand. He said, Chris, I don't have to be good anymore. He said, because you are now. And then in that moment, something came over me, like something drenched me to tell me, your dad's never coming out of this hospital. As young as he was and everything, it was like, man, your dad's never coming out of this hospital. That was pretty much it. Because I knew my father. And when he said what he said to me, it sent a strong message. Like he lived to make sure that I was a man. And then once he saw, man, this guy is a man and he can handle his family, he can take care of his bills, he's raising his kids. Man, when he said that, it was like a separation. He had done his job. And real talk, he had. He had. For him, my dad's greatest reward wasn't being a Fortune 500 company owner. You know, it wasn't you know, how much he can have or the cars he could pursue or have or drive. I found out in that moment that my father lived to make sure I became a man. And I'm ever thankful for that. Live to see your kids become amazing. Man, let's move on for y'all make me cry more. So seek support, seek guidance, man. Look for friends. You know, when my son was growing, I had to look for guys who had teenagers. I say, man, did you go through this? You know, where I thought I was the only one in the world going through this and my son was just a disrespectful kid, I found out, hey, this is part of growing up for guys. That support helped me with my perspective. Number 3, focus on your presence over your perfection. Don't try to be a perfect dad because you can't. But I tell you what you can be. What you can be is a present dad. You can't be a perfect dad. You can be a present dad. It's like the basement in a house, right? Nobody goes in the basement and says, man, this is a beautiful basement unless it's finished and all that. Either way, the basement is not the focal point of the house. The basement is the foundation of the house. You know, the boilers down there and the hot water heater and all this stuff that nobody pays attention to is down the basement, right? But it all makes the house function. It keeps everybody warm. It makes sure everybody have water and hot water and this and that. But nobody ever goes down and says, oh man, we need to honor the basement. Well, as a father, that's what you are to your family. And you may never get high celebration. You may never, but because it's not about that. Your celebration is that this house won't fall apart because I'm up under it. My goodness, this house won't fall apart because I'm up under it. Let me tell you what leading is. Leadership, you're not the roof of the house as a man. You're the basement. You're not the roof of the house. You're the basement. If the roof blows off, the first floor blows off, the basement, you can always rebuild that house because of a solid basement. So be the basement, bro. Be the basement. Don't feel like you got to be this and be that. No, just be present. Be there. Be the basement, right? Be there. When my son was going through his sports thing, playing different sports, you know, I remember one thing from my father. I played high school football, and my dad was a cop. And, you know, I never knew his schedule, when he could be around, especially because he was a narcotics cop. So you never knew when he was doing something. But every Friday night when I played football, I would look around the stands somewhere and I would see my dad somewhere up there in the top of the bleachers. And it went over me, you know. He wasn't down there pumping his fist and telling me to go home. He might have been dead tired from chasing people around since 2 and 3 in the morning. But at that Friday night, that Friday afternoon, my dad was in those stands, right? Because he was present, tired but present. You know, I'm sure he might have been broke but present. Be present, man. Be present, because some of you are ashamed, man. I can't give this and I can't give that. Just give you, because that's all your kid is going to remember. Your kid won't remember the $5. Your kid won't remember the $7. Your kid won't even remember those toys. All they will be able to look around and say is, man, my dad was always there. So presence over perfection. It's not about how you do everything perfect. Were you there? You was messed up, but you was there. You was dealing with something, but you was there. You was battling an addiction, but you were there. I know somebody saying, well, not addiction. I don't give a damn what the addiction is, man. Go see your kid. Go kiss your kid. You could be on a bender, just going and for days getting high. When you get yourself together, go kiss your kid. If it's for 30 seconds, go kiss your kid, and maybe looking in your kid's eye when you give that kid that kiss on that forehead will force you then to go get help so you can come back and ever give those kisses. But don't forsake your kid, and don't say I'm not perfect so I can't be present. Be present, because your kids don't give a damn about perfection. Be present, man. Be present. 3, 4. Did I get 4? 4. Communicate openly with your partner. If you're married, right? If you're married, if you're dating, whatever, if you have a woman in your life, be open with them about your fears. Be honest about, hey, man, I'm trying to be a good dad, because a lot of times what you got to understand is that women understand the soul nature of a kid better than a man ever will, right? She understands because she made that kid. She's with that kid. She understands the intricacies of that child, which means that communicate. Hey, I'm afraid of this. They'll be able to give you better direction. Oh, they don't want that. They need this. Oh, they're not even worried about that. This is what they asked for, right? So be open. Don't sit in the anxious box trying to be a better dad when there's somebody sitting right there that can give you directions. And you don't have to go around the bend of life to figure it out. She's right there, can tell you, oh, make this one move. And a lot of times it's as simple as freaking Five Below, right? Sponsorship, Five Below, right? It's as simple as Five Below. It's as simple as, man, a dollar store. It's your kid wants the only two things you have: time and words. That's what your kid wants: time and words. Number 5, prioritize self-care. And with all the anxiety and pressure of trying to make sure you got this money right and trying to make sure this is that and this is there, that breaks you down. It naturally breaks you down to always try to figure it out. So prioritize self-care for yourself. Find something you enjoy doing and do it. Find some guys you enjoy hanging out with and do it. Self-care isn't just for women, right? As much as men carry and as many people as men carry, when you have a spouse and children, all these things, you need to get self-care. And self-care is what makes you feel better about you. Self-care isn't getting high. Trust me, I know. I've been high, right? That's an escape. Self-care is what I do to get the best out of me, right? So you got to know the difference between when you're escaping and when it's self-care. You got to know the difference. So you're not getting bombed somewhere saying this is self-care. It's not self-care. Self-care is going to bring the best out of you so you can give the best to your children. Fatherhood is the most precious gift in the world. Fatherhood, the most precious gift in the world. Fatherhood, the most precious gift in the world. The world will tell you, you got to get this, you got to get that, you got to get that. That's the point of the system of the world, is to have you chasing everything but what counts. Because when you lay in that box in front of that church, when you lay in that box in that synagogue, when you are getting wrapped as a Muslim man, when you die, your kids won't care about all the other things. And you don't want your kids to sit there, stand over you, and not be able to grieve because you weren't present. All right, gentlemen, thank you. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for letting me cry on my own podcast. Thank you for allowing me to challenge you. I appreciate this community. You're a hell of a community. I ain't seen your faces, but when I get behind this microphone, I can feel the strength of men and the vulnerability of men reaching out for what we need to survive. Gentlemen, I appreciate you. You matter to me. I love you. You count. Don't forget, dear brother, the advice. Again, when we go live, I'll be able to do it live and speak to you all directly. But also you can email me at christian@christianwinters.com. You can put the messages right there. You can put a message in that email. You can put a message also in the chat. But let's talk. Talking in crowds is one thing. Talking to men directly is what counts. So, dear brother, the advice, if you want some advice on something, anything, there's probably not anything that I haven't gone through or suffered my way through. You'll get to know that more as you get to know me. But I got some advice, and I'm sure other men have advice for you. Again, this is a community. Christian is no superstar. I'm just gathering men with great minds so we can build each other up. All right. Gentlemen, I'm on my way to Guyana for a Dear Brother event. I'm going there to talk to all the men and share my heart with them for 3 days in this nation. A few years ago, I built a school there to protect children in a village called Swan Village. But I'm going back the last week of this month, August, to go and be with those men. All right. And so if you want to support that, you can. Please do. You can support the Dear Brother event. You can allow me. I wrote a book, this book, Home Where Hurt Men Heal. It's available to you on Amazon right now, to all of you. But also, if you want to give, it allows me to take these books to Guyana with me, right? To these villages where we have poor men that work very hard. They have nothing more but to feed their families. Support this mission because it allows us to put books and food in those men's hands. I'm so thankful for this community and how you support everything that we do around the world. If you are interested in a Dear Brother event coming to your community, I would love to come, man. We can get a YMCA, a coffee shop. We can get a living room with some men in it. But I want to bring a Dear Brother event to your town, your city. We can sit down. We can do some exercises that will get us free, get us checking ourselves, and we go home better men to change our cities and our nations. I'm so appreciative of you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out today. Dear brother, you're valuable. Be great today, tomorrow, and the day after that. Please like, share, subscribe. Again, this isn't so our community becomes a superstar community, but it's so that we share with men who are looking for help and haven't been able to find it. Dear brother, you matter to me. Thanks for hanging out. Stay cool and rock on. Christian winners. Thanks for hanging out. Be cool. Rock on. I love you, Christian.